Is thank you. It is actually amazing. So, ahoy, thank you, Marina Galan.
What is the best way to respond to an insult? That was the question my 7-year-old son asked me one day. Unknowingly, it was the question that would change both our lives. Because how do you answer that question? What is the best way to respond to an insult? So I said, I don't know. And he said, who knows? Like, nobody knows. It's like, you mean to tell me that human beings have been on this planet for millions of years and nobody has figured out what the best way to respond to an insult is? Now, this question came about because my son was going through a bullying process in school. And he had gone to every single person he knew. His grandparents, his uncles, his brothers, his cousins, to try to get an answer from them on how to deal with this situation. And he had tried a few of those suggestions that they had made for him, but nothing had worked. So when he asked me that question, my answer ended up being, it depends. You have to make yourself present, read the moment, absorb all the information that is present. Who is the person insulting you? What is their tone of voice? Are there other present adults, other friends? Is there support available? So you have to make yourself present. You have to read the moment, get all the information, and then listen to yourself. The answer can only come from yourself. You will know what to do. If you make yourself present, you get quiet enough, wisdom will speak to you. Why am I saying that that was the question that changed our lives? Because after that conversation, I realized that I did not have the answers for their lives. I did not know what lessons life would bring to them. And so I could not prepare them for a life that I did not know what could bring. So my only possibility, my best possibility, was to throw the ball back at them and try to help them listen to themselves. Develop a deeply intimate relationship with their inner wisdom. Learn to honor it, respect it, obey it. That meant a lot of times that I had to listen to their wisdom, even if it went against mine. Even if what their wisdom was telling them was absolutely contrary to what I would suggest or I would prefer for them. By throwing the ball back at them from that moment on, every time, they slowly started developing this relationship with themselves. But at some point, it made me stop and wonder, is this something you can learn? Or is this something we are born with and then we lose? So I started observing babies. And I realized that babies only listen to themselves. Only. That's all that matters. They have this immaculate relationship to their wisdom. If they are hungry, they let you know. If they are uncomfortable, they let you know. If they are tired, they go to sleep. If you don't let them, they let you know you have to. Yes? So, at what point do we begin listening outside and silencing inside? Ignoring inside. I mean, yes, as parents, we think that we know more and we have more experience, so you listen to me because I know what is best for you. And all figures of authority do exactly the same thing. And so, of course, they stop listening to themselves. They start overriding that inner wisdom. But then we want them to be autonomous and be free thinkers and not fall for the first gang member that tells them what to do. And so what are we doing? We are teaching them to listen to outside, and we are missing the part in which we let them listen to inside. The consequences of this in the world are horrendous. We have generations after generations of people who don't know what they want, who don't know who they are, they just don't know how to be in the world. They feel inadequate. They feel that they are never enough. The world has forgotten how to listen, they say. And yes, it has, but it has mostly forgotten how to listen inwardly. In preparing for this talk, I went to 12 different dictionaries and looked for the meaning of listening. Not a single one of them mentioned inner listening. They all stayed on listening to one another. And yes, listening to another is incredibly important, but boy, listening to ourselves is primordial. Listening has a few peculiar conditions. One of them is that it can only happen now, here. So it forces us to be here. And here is that frontier between the past and the future, between what the known and the yet unknown. And we find ourselves in that frontier, kind of knowing who we have been, but having no idea of who we are becoming. And it is through listening to ourselves deeply that we can slowly begin to answer the way in which life is guiding us. Intuition, tuition from within. Knowing that there is something deeper within us that can bring important information for us to move in the world. Intuition is the way we personally listen to the universe. It is the only way we can listen to the universe. Now, think about this inner listening. Sometimes it happens in words, especially when we are listening to our busy mind. But mostly when we go to a deeper listening, it happens through feelings. That's it. We feel one way. We feel another. We feel that we really want to take on this study and we really want to connect with that person. But it's just a feeling. That's all we have. But it is all we need. I asked a few people around me before coming here. Is there enough silence in your day-to-day life? Not one of them said yes. Is there enough silence in your day-to-day life? Are you too busy listening to outside to actually listen to yourself, to listen to life within yourself and the way it is guiding you? When we listen too much to outside, inevitably what happens is that we begin to learn how to say yes to everything outside of us. Do this, yes. Do that, yes. Go here, yes. Even if I don't want to. And that's a problem. Because in the process of learning to say yes to outside, we unknowingly learn to say no to inside. And when those are not aligned, we cannot be guided. So how do we turn that around? It is not necessarily, I say no, or I say yes. It's not an imposition game. But it is an invitation to discover when it is that inside and outside are aligned. They say that when inside and outside are aligned, you slowly find your path. So what if finding our path needed for us to listen to ourselves? Listening our way into our paths, into ourselves and the persons we need to become in every stage of our lives. The reward of listening to yourself might not be a life of financial success or tremendous popularity and fame, but the reward will be yourself. There is only one way to yourself, and it is done through listening deep within. I did a search for great listeners of history. I couldn't find any. There were a lot of great talkers, great speakers, great everything, but there was no one who was recognized as a great listener. And yet there are out there. Who can you identify in your life as a great listener? Who made you feel listened to? Do you remember? How did that feel? And can you give that to yourself? So what makes a great listener? Presence, yes. Silence, yes. Not getting too much in your head, yes. But there is enormous compassion in listening, because we are giving ourselves up for the other, in service of the other. It is an act of love. So, what are we giving up when we listen to ourselves? We are giving up all the ideas and conceptions and beliefs that we have around who we are or who we should be, who others think we should be. How does it feel to be aligned? The first time I felt listened to was by my uncle, Jesus. And it was an absolutely magical moment. I had no idea of what was happening. I could not describe it. But I could feel myself, and I could feel him, and I could feel the truth of our connection. When I listen to another, I feel the same. But when I listen to myself, it just gets amplified. It just reverberates. Quite a few people have asked me, how can you be so calm about your 16-year-old son traveling through Europe by himself? And the only answer that I can find is because I trust him. That started me thinking about why I trust him, and I realized that it had to do with that throwing the ball back at them as they were growing up again and again and again. And allowing that path to unfold for them and see them how they would interact with that path, how they would bring themselves to the equation. I don't know if I would trust my kids the way I do if I had formed them and I had built them up. I have no clue, because there would always be the question of, have they actually heard me? Have they actually understood what I said? Whereas here, they just need to hear them. My son was telling me yesterday, the sentence that you tell us most is, listen to your wisdom. Listen to your wisdom. Listen to your wisdom. Now, whenever I ask him something, he tells me, listen to your wisdom. It's a pretty easy way to raise your kids. It is. Listen to your wisdom. That's pretty much all you have. Now, how about that piece of bringing ourselves to the equation? You all know the feeling when you are not being authentic, when you are not being yourself, and then afterwards it feels kind of awkward and kind of like, I should have, I could have, why did I? There is a beautiful quote from the apocryphal Gospel of St. Thomas that says, if you bring forth what is true in you, what is true in you will save you. If you not bring forth what is true in you, what is true in you will destroy you. Those are very strong words. What is true in you will destroy you. Why? Because when we are not living our authentic self, when we are not living our authentic path, our true, aligned life, we feel miserable. And the longer we go on that path, we feel more and more and more miserable. And it's as if your soul was demanding that you listen through that suffering, begging you to listen. Alan Watts says that we are not strangers to this world. We did not come into it, we came out of it. We belong to it. And in a way, what he's pointing to is the fact that we have been summoned to this life. Not by accident. For you to be here, all of history had to happen. All of it. Not only your parents' meetings and your grandparents' meeting. No, all of it had to happen so that you could be here today and that I could be here today talking to you. We have been summoned here because we are needed here. And if we do not bring ourselves here, we are failing the universe. We are failing life. But when we do, when we truly, really align, listen to ourselves, bring forth what is true within us, we shine like stars in a huge, beautiful, unbelievably marvelous constellation. And no constellation is complete without all its stars. What are you bringing forth? And do you know that you can only bring yourself forth by listening to you? To the way life is informing you, guiding you, bringing you, inviting you into yourself, into the person you are meant to become. Someone asked me on the way here on the plane, can you learn how to listen? Can you remember how to listen? And yes, because as Michael was saying, it is something that is already natural in us. We know how to do it. We just have forgotten. And the way back to it is through a feeling, like Sydney Banks said. Find a feeling, let it guide you. How do you find a feeling without listening to yourself? You can't. So how do we learn? How do we remember how to listen? Can we just slow down enough for it to happen naturally? Can we not get distracted by outside and all the noise and bring enough silence into our lives so that we can find that feeling of us, of ourselves? Try it now. Try listening within. Try feeling yourself. Try finding the feeling of you. It's right here. It's the most intimate part of you. Now you only have to honor it, obey it, follow it into yourself. And I want to leave you today with the words of a beautiful writer, Naomi Ray Nedin, who says, "A great teacher may teach you how to listen, but a great teacher will never teach you the meaning of life. For that, you will have to listen for yourself." Which points to the truth of no one can share truth. It can only be pointed to. No one can walk your path. They can be companions on your path. They can point you to your path, but no one can walk it for you. When you do, and you find yourself, and you bring yourself forward, you will finally live your life, and it will feel Amazing.